What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for Summertime Rendering. This is episode 22, and with me, as always, I have Loose Pig.
So now that Ushio is back, apparently she has this brand new ability in which she can instantly erase shadows or parts of shadows just by touching them. One example is like Shide notices that I think the shadow armor on his left arm is gone and he can't regenerate it. So I'm just kind of questioning like how Ushio can progressively get more powerful each time she comes back or something.
Yeah, I mean, I have to wonder if maybe it's because they technically merged the memories of the Ushio that was looping with Shinpei and the one in this current loop that possibly that gave her more abilities. That's the only thing I can't assume.
I don't know how that's possible. I mean, technically, I know she's part of Heine in some aspects, but for her to just instantly learn something and then just use it without even knowing how to do it is just like I don't know. It kind of scratches my head a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this one picks up pretty much where the last episode left off, where Ushio comes back, of course, and ends up dispatching some of the shadows that are with Shide and tries to fight against Shide. Heine, of course, ends up joining. She takes control of like a bird and ends up and shows up there. But come to find out, I guess they had taken out the, what was it, Gyo, the baby?
Yeah.
And Shinpei, like, I'm not exactly sure. I guess that I was a little bit confused about this scene because well, first of all, they kind of made a big deal in the last couple episodes about how the event horizon is continuing to get closer and Shinpei cannot well, I guess he was because it was getting closer, there was no more restart points that he could go back to. But I guess as long as he continues to make any sort of progress, he will be able to loop.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit misleading because I was under the impression that
it's just that he can't loop back to the point where he can save Hizuru because he's now beyond the point of save her. But yeah,
but yeah, I was kind of I thought it would have made this. Well, also, if you remember in the last episode, the whole reason why like Mio confessed to Shinpei was because she was convinced they were all gonna die and they won't be able to come back. But I guess that's not the case because of course Shinpei can loop again and he ends up well, okay. So he tries to shoot himself in the head. But at first he's I think it's like he's able to do this now because he's able to, I guess, counteract Heine's abilities.
Well, let's remember. It's just because Shinpei has Ryunosuke inside of him now, and with Ryunosuke, he can give Shinpei the ability for like
the future sight.
Yeah, the foresight for like the 2-second foresight sort of ability he gave to Hizuru back then. And now that Shinpei's now that Ryunosuke's inside Shinpei, now he can give Shinpei the ability to do the 2-second foresight as well. So with that, like he sees like the event in which Shide shoots the gun out of Shinpei's hand, but because he can see it now, he's able to avoid it and then of course shoot himself in the head to loop back.
Yeah, so of course Shinpei's able to loop back to I think it was when they were planning out what they were going to do to fight against or to try to stop the massacre that was going to happen during the festival. So I guess that's now the restart point. So he loops back there and they decide to kind of change the way they approach the plan. So I'm not exactly I don't know if you know, like, what exactly was it that they screwed up? Because I guess they, of course they allowed the shadow baby to die. But I guess they, okay, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking like maybe they only needed to get Ushio back in that one loop just so that she could loop back with Shinpei again. And then the real objective was to go into the cave.
Yeah. So
Um,
so what happened was
yeah,
because like Shinpei has like the the mark that Heine gave him like earlier on in the season, she can track what he's doing every single time, no matter where he's at. So what they do now is they actually hide inside Gil, in which Heine can't track them while he's inside of a shadow. So what they did was they actually entered the Heine's cave while inside Gil, so she doesn't know where they were at the time. So they pretty much like procrastinate in that area because they know like Shinpei will loop back at that certain point in time to get back there.
yeah. So yeah, they get into the cave and they're basically trying to get to where they were before, like the main, I guess where Heine was kind of hiding out, and they need to get through like a barrier, and I think it's at this point that they both Heine and
And Shide.
Shide kind of figure out what they're up to, and decide to try to stop them. So they end up passing through this barrier, and Nezu stays behind to try to ward off Shide. I could kind of assume that he probably, I mean, considering what happens later in the episode, he's probably dead. But we don't really see that. But yeah, they of course get to the get to this part of the cave and end up getting followed by Shide and Heine. They show up. I guess their plan was to I'm not exactly sure, because there's a few points in the episode where I was kind of having a hard time like kind of keeping track of what was really going on here. Like Shide, like his I guess his other body is still up on the surface somewhere, and this is like the because he has two bodies, as we know. One of them follows them down here and follows them into the cave.
Yeah.
And that's the one they end up fighting.
And then there's a second Shide that ends up fighting the second group, which is of course Shide's group, not Shide's, Shinpei's group. Okay, so what their main objective is to go down and destroy Heine's real body, so they can just pretty much end this whole shadow crisis like for good. And of course, in the knowing if they do so, they're gonna erase all the shadows that are accompanying them, including Shadow Mio and possibly Ushio. So it pretty much leads into like a non-stop action sequence in which like one group, like particularly I think Nezu of course holds off one of the Shides. Then of course in Shinpei's group fights off another Shide that's finding him near Heine's body. So they come up with like clever tactics in which there's like a second Heine in which is like taking the form of Shinpei, and she's able to track like all the shadow copies of the weapons that they're possessing. However, like the group uses this as their advantage, and then I think So uses the real nail gun to pretty much pin down Heine in place, which pretty much gives Ushio an opening to go after the real Heine, and pretty much I guess she did end up like I don't know what she did. Like it seems like she hesitates at that point.
She like destroyed the wall behind her, didn't she?
And then it looks like the shadow starting to fade away. Particularly like Shide's shadow armor like fades away after that attack, and then Shadow Mio stabs him in the head and kills him. And then soon after that, Shinpei finds Ushio and she displays Heine's red eye on her right eye. Same thing with the Shinpei with his eye as well. And of course, they're wondering why Shadow Mio is still alive after Ushio ended up attacking Heine, until they find out that there's a third Shide that's still alive after all this.
Yeah, I wondered if it was because that they technically have parts, or like, at least Shinpei and Ushio technically have like parts of like Heine inside them or something, and that's why Heine is not, or the shadows aren't able to totally disappear, or Heine is not able to disappear. It's hard. It's really I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how Shinpei is able to come back. Or not Shinpei, but Shide. Yeah, I wonder if that might be the reason.
I mean,
especially since now they both have part. It look like Heine's eyes. I don't know if that has something to do with it.
It's not really clear unless they explain it in the next episode. That could be one of the reasons. Another reason is like Ushio hesitated in attacking Heine, so that could be another reason. But it's not. It's not really clear, like how Shide is still alive. I mean, Shinpei speculates that Shide is immortal in some ways, but it's not. Like I said, it's not really clear by the end of this episode, like what the reason is.
I wonder if those preserved bodies he's kept over the years are going to come into play, and like Shide will just continually try to move to another body or something. Because if you remember, they mentioned that he has all those other bodies he's used through the years.
I mean, they killed off two of Shide's old bodies in this episode. So like I think Nezu's.
Yeah, but he probably has like quite a few more considering how long he's lived. So I wonder if that might come into play at some point. And we also have to remember that Hizuru doesn't want them to kill Heine either. So they would also have to find a way to, I don't know, find some other way that doesn't involve having to kill her.
Yeah. I mean, if you remember, I think Hizuru is the one who mentioned that Heine is being manipulated by Shide. So we have, they because Hizuru is indicating that Shide is the real villain of the story and not Heine.
Yeah. I'm not really sure now, like what's going to happen next. And I assume, like, my theory is just that he's going to keep coming back by using these other bodies that he's probably has in reserve or something. So they'll probably have to get rid of those, if I could guess. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen from here, or how they're even going to plan to fight him. But yeah, it's getting pretty interesting. And of course, we're getting pretty close to the end of the series too. I mean, we only have like a couple more episodes, I think.
Yeah, three more episodes.
Two or three more episodes. But yeah, this is a really good episode. It's just it definitely feels like it's getting close to the climax of the series, and it just gets progressively crazier with each episode. And Shide just keeps pulling these, just something. It always feels like he's still got some trick up his sleeve left. So I'm kind of wondering what else he's gonna, what else he's gonna have try to pull here. Like I said, my theory is that he'll use those other bodies somehow. And he's not. I don't think he's immortal, but it's sort of like an imperfect immortality if you think about it, because he's had to clone himself or just like rebirth himself through Heine over the years. So it's not like he can't be killed technically. So I think I think if they can get rid of those bodies he's used, they can probably therefore get rid of him, because he'd have nowhere. His shadow would have like nowhere else to go. Mm-hmm. So maybe that'll be what ends up happening. So I guess people that read the manga can let me know if I'm on the right track. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about the episode?
It was a good episode. I mean, it makes sense considering that we're on the final stretch of the series right now. They're pretty much headed definitely headed towards like something big near the finale. I would assume
Mhm.
Heine is still technically alive of sorts, considering that both Shinpei and Ushio's right eyes are have turned red for whatever reason. But I think it's likely because they're both part of like a Heine's body, uh, technically. So that's probably the right reason why some or most of the shadows are still alive and why Shade is still around.
Yeah, because I think as long as Heine is still alive, like the shadows won't really, I mean, go away
Hmm.
as far as I know. Um, but yeah, I don't really have too much else to say. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to next week. Hopefully, we'll get
Yeah.
um, some of the answers, some of the questions answered by next week, because sometimes they kind of get a little bit confusing along the way. But fortunately, they've done a good job of trying to answer the questions on some of the later episodes they've done before.
Yeah, I feel like every time you involve like time travel or stuff like immortality and all that, it starts to get a little bit confusing, especially the time travel element. But I think they've handled that mostly fairly well. It does kind of make sense that I guess Shinpei can continue to loop. Um, I kind of, I don't know. I kind of would have preferred if he, no longer had the ability or something, so that it would feel like everything's more tense. Like there's if somebody dies, it's permanent. But now Shinpei can, like we mentioned, as long as he can continue to make any sort of progress, he'll continue to loop, as far as I understand it. So I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I just feel like since we're getting close to the end of the series, like if he no longer had that ability, all of a sudden, like everything would be, it feels like the stakes would be like that much higher.
Hmm.
But I guess I don't mind that that he can still do it. But yeah, and I'm wondering if that also might be different now, considering, the whole thing with Shinpei's eyes and Ushio's eyes. And I'm wondering if maybe something that might potentially prevent him from doing anything like that. But I guess we'll see.
I mean,
Uh,
there's I don't think there's any way for Shinpei to loop right now if he wanted to, because he's not
Mhm.
that far away from the event horizon of where he just started it when he just looped in this episode. So if he were
Yeah.
to die right now, then he'll likely fall through the event horizon, which I'm curious to see, like,
Yeah.
what would happen if he did end up dying and we would actually see him go through that. But it's not really clear if maybe we'll see if he's fortunate.
Maybe that'll be one of the bad endings in that visual novel they're coming out with
Yeah,
for summertime rental.
probably. I'm curious about that visual novel as well, and whether or not it's going to be properly translated if it's coming over to the stateside. But anyway, but yeah, hopefully we'll get to see what happens next week. I mean, we still have like 3 more episodes before the series properly ends.
Yep. So that being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.